Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Boss Rush Spotlight series interview where we talk to some of the most interesting, creative, and story developers in the gaming industry. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Dirrig, and alongside me, as always, is the PC muscle race himself, LeRon Dawkins.
Hello. What's poppin'? How's it going out there?
LeRon, people are going to be mad at you.
Why are they gonna be mad at me?
Because you're wearing sleeves, LeRon.
I know why, but hey, we got a special guest. So I didn't want to, press my luck.
I know. I didn't wear my hoodie today. I dressed up today. So,
Yeah, blue is my color, and apparently orange too. Like every time I wear an orange shirt, people are like, "Ooh, that's a nice color on you."
Look, man, you do what you got to do. But LeRon, we have a very special guest. I was saying before we started recording, before you entered the room, we're gonna have to make a whole section on our website for WayForward because they just keep coming back.
And we are fans here at Boss Rush Network. We are fans.
I mean, we are really big fans of WayForward. So we have one of the founding members of WayForward, one of the co-creators of the Shantae series, and little known fact, worked on Looney Tunes Duck Amuck for you Super Nintendo fans out there. Matt Bozon is here. Matt, welcome to the show. Welcome to the party.
Hello. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me. This is cool. Glad to be here. What are we gonna talk about?
We could talk about Six Flags for a little bit if you want. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. It's right out the window. It's right over there.
Is it?
Looking
really?
right at it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So in case people have been sleeping under a rock for, I don't know, the last couple decades, who are you? Why are you important? How would people know you?
Okay. So, I'm stuck on why am I important? That's like,
I could say you've created one of the most iconic characters in the last 2 decades, I would say.
Thank you. I'm a husband and a dad. That's where my true importance lies, if I'm being honest. Thank you. That was very nice of you. Let's see. So I'm you already said, so I'm one of the founding members of WayForward back in forever ago. Voldy Way owns WayForward. That is his company. We're an independent studio in Valencia, California. So I was there back when it was just the three of us, me, him, Rob Buchanan, who will come up. You know what? Rob Buchanan is the guy who actually directed Duck Amuck. So when you brought up Duck Amuck, I'm like, oh, I pitched that game so that my buddy Rob could do something with Looney Tunes animation because I knew he would love it, and that's where that game came from. I don't know, just quick aside, but me, Voldy, Rob, Aaron, my wife Aaron, who is the creator of Shantae, was there in the early days as well. That's company's been around for a long time. A bunch of us are still here in Valencia, California. Some of us are scattered around now. Why am I important? That was the question, or how people know my stuff. I guess I'd say since WayForward's been around for so long now, 30 plus years, we've got hundreds of games. We don't know how many. We lost count. 300. I don't know how many it is. There's a lot.
According to your, I don't know how accurate Moby Games is yet, because I know it's kind of, I know it's pretty accurate, but it says you alone have 211 credits on 103 games.
Cool. I'd have to go check. That sounds probably, that's some of them for sure. I don't know if it goes, how far it goes back. So WayForward's been making games. There were the three of us, but even before then, Voldy was doing it on his own. He would sell games door to door. That's how when people are like, is it an indie studio? If you're selling games door to door on discs, you're pretty pretty much independent. We're still owned by just Voldy. So, we made so many games. They're back in the there were 5-inch floppy disk games, 3/4-inch floppy games. We did the whole CD-ROM boom thing, the .com thing. I'm guessing a ton of those games aren't even on that list. We're probably at 100 games before we even got to Game Boy, the whole Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS, 3DS. We all of that stuff. there's probably around 100 games before that. There's probably around 200 in the period of time. We've had games on cereal boxes back in the like Muppets games back when probably a lot of people who could be listening maybe were kids. I mean, maybe if you ever had like Muppet Kids software and you learned how to sort your recycling by clicking and dragging trash into receptacles. That's a game I directed that game. I worked on some of those. Rob worked on some of them. I mean, tons of stuff back. Like this is pre-Freddy Fish days, that kind of stuff. It just goes back forever. I mean, we've just been along for the ride the entire time. Like the reason, I guess, if there's any reason anyone would have ever heard my name, it's probably just because I've been here and at the same place the whole time doing stuff, licensed kids games, Barbie, SpongeBob, Batman, Marvel superheroes, like that kind of stuff. And then the Shantae series, which is the one that, for sure, like personally, that's the thing I'm be the most known for is directing those games and co-create.
Household name.
That's weird that you'd say that. I hear people say that. I don't really believe it because I still think of us as, oh man, someday maybe someone will, recognize pick up one of these games and enjoy it and, hey, we're doing good. But yeah, it still always seems like it's an underdog property, but I know it's actually out there now. People do recognize it and show up for things when we do things at conventions. So I know it's real, but man, it takes a long time for that to sink in. I'll just say that. So yeah, I thank you guys. Really.
I mean, I have to say when I think of WayForward, Shantae's the first character I think of, hands down.
Great. Thank you. Yeah. For me, it's like that. I think because I'm just so close to it, like for sure. And I know we've got her face kind of all over everything on our socials and stuff. But yeah, it's funny. It's there. We're on, that was the second, or you could call it the sixth game that just came out. But they've not been very consistent over 30 years. I mean, there tends to be like a 6-year gap in between each one. So it's not like we just keep putting them out there either. It takes a while. So
yeah, but I'm going to say that's probably a good thing. I mean, you don't want one of these annualized things, right? I mean, some of these games come out so often that you're just like, come on, take a break.
Yeah, we're doing video games here. We're not running a puppy mill.
Yeah. So yeah, it tends to be one every console generation is pretty typical, is the way it's been going.
Well, I'll say this for sure. I've been playing. I played quite a few games since like 2007. I had to go to your website and like look at your actual like games list. And out of the 146 games, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I can probably say I've played 10 of them.
Oh, really?
I know of quite a few of them though, like with the Shantae games for sure and stuff like that. But I've actually played. I can't say I've beaten these 10 games. So I played these 10 games in some shape, form, or fashion.
Wow, that's really cool.
You guys are responsible for 3 of my all-time favorites out of your list.
Really?
Yeah, DuckTales Remastered.
Okay. DuckTales Remastered was amazing.
For sure. Like I was playing the game when I was a kid. I was playing the original when I was a kid on the NES, stuff like that.
Yeah,
and when I found out about oh my god. And when I found out about the remastered game, like I think I basically broke my neck to get a copy of it and stuff like that. So
wow.
and like it was just amazing. Like, I did not. I should have realized this at the time, but I did not. I didn't click until I did like actual like trivia on it. And you guys actually had the original voice cast from the cartoon.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
That was like the big deal when it came out.
Yeah.
It was amazing, and it's so sad. So many of those people have passed away now.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the voice actor for Scrooge McDuck, like that was his last voice credit.
Alan Young, oh my gosh,
yeah, Alan Young. Here we go.
Yeah, no, I got to meet him. It was just like, it was amazing because I don't. It's probably worth pointing out that I pitched that game for 10 years at least. I mean, I started pitching DuckTales stuff when I was in college, so this is like I'm talking in the early 91, 92. I'm like, I want to do a DuckTales thing. Blah, blah, as soon as DuckTales started to not be on new episodes on TV is when I was like, man, I want to see that come back. How do I help? Because I grew up on the Carl Barks comic books that the DuckTales shows were based on.
Oh
so
man.
I knew the comics from way back. And then in Erin, my wife, we met in at Cal Arts in character animation. So everybody, our teachers and the people who were like our influences is all like classic animation, like hand drawn classic animation. That's like kind of where we're from. Like we sort of came into that right after Little Mermaid and Who Framed Roger Rabbit, like right there before Lion King and Aladdin. So like our teachers were all the people who were making those movies. So that's kind of how we got our start. But just constant pursuit of DuckTales. It took forever, but I actually think it had a bit to do with maybe Epic Mickey coming back and making some money. I think that kind of helped out a bit.
I tend to agree with that one. I think I do.
Yeah, we pitched so many times, and then just this one E3, we kind of had some luck. It's like, hey, there might be some traction for this now, and it kind of helped that it seemed that it had never quite worked going Disney or Capcom, but like for some reason, both of them together at the same time seemed to have the right. I don't know. The timing was just good, so that's how that one came about. But yeah, every single one of those things in that game, as a kid. I mean, I don't know. I was nearing adulthood when that show was on, still going. But yeah, a lot of that DuckTales NES game you were talking about. I don't know about you, but I always wondered, like, why are certain things the way they are in that game? You know, it's like, what is that? And so that's a lot of the fun I got to do on that game was piece together. Like, you know what? Pretty sure you played a giant rat because of the Micro Ducks from Outer Space episode. It's got to be because of that. They got shrunk down. Scrooge and the kids got shrunk down and they fought what to them it looks like a giant rat. But I'm like, I can only imagine like Capcom employees getting faxes from Disney. It's like, I don't know, here's a rat, here's the guys, must be a giant rat. You know, communication was not great back then. So I have to imagine that's why that's like that. There's a million stories like this. I got to stop or we'll never get anywhere. I warned you. I'm like, blah, blah. Just can't stop yakking.
No, that's great. No. Like yak it up all night.
I mean, just bouncing off of LeRon and kind of what I told Adam Tierney the first time he was on. Like I knew the games, but I didn't know WayForward was behind so many of them. Like Mighty Switch Force is one of my favorite games. There's Ninja Turtles games on here that the X-Men game from Activision for the DS.
God of War Betrayal, Contra 4, Double Dragon Neon.
Yeah, it was Contra 4, Double Dragon Neon. I wrote the pitch for. Contra 4, that was the one. That's one of my favorite games. I actually designed and directed that game, and I love it. I'm a huge Contra guy. I love NES Contra.
Then you definitely were a part of Operation Galuga, then, right?
Not as much as you'd think. I was more Contra 4 guy. Galuga was. I'll explain a little bit. Like I was there as creative director role, so like in meetings, advising and stuff like that, but not as hands on. Because my tendency is to more embrace old school when it comes to Contra. If you play Contra 4, you get a sense of what I think of Contra as. If you play Operation Galuga, I think you get the more modern Konami sensibility. And they're not quite the same. They're close, but they're a little bit different. You know, you could probably see the difference. One is much more. I guess I'd say Contra 4 is rigid in its gameplay. You know, so which I like. I'm a fan of. I like games. I like memorization games, and I like to know how things work. Like I see it as like almost like a chessboard that. It's like, okay, all of these characters have moves, and I have to figure out how I fit into the choreography of this level. Where am I, the player, supposed to be? And when you learn all of that, that's kind of when you sort of go, okay, I know how to get through these levels on those like old school kind of games. And so that was kind of my mindset with Contra 4. I think the Operation Galuga a bit more modern in its interpretation, more organic, I guess I'd say, is the way the gameplay. To me, that's the way I kind of see it. But. Yeah, so I was involved, but really I left that just way more to Tom. Tom was on the show before talking about it, right? Early
last year he was on.
Yeah, definitely Tom. And Tom was a producer. Tom and Simon from Konami were producers on Contra 4 way back when, which is a large part of how we got that gig in the first place. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, we worked together on and off too for a long time. So
So
But I'm definitely going to bow at the altar of WayForward because you guys released like the most. You guys had your hand in the most epic re-release of a game that I've loved from the Game Boy Advance era, and that's Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp.
Oh wow, yeah. That's thanks.
I know
Yeah,
there's a story. I know there's a story behind it, and you do not have to get into it. I know there's a story
appreciate
behind
that
it.
so much. Yeah, no,
Nintendo
I
might
love.
not.
For the record, as far as Game Boy Advance games go, I really struggle with like what's the best game on Game Boy Advance, but I feel like Advance Wars is kind of the best. Like if it's either the best or it's the most Game Boy, it's like the most definitive Game Boy Advance game. It does. You can mold it. You can pass it between players. You can link cable, play. You can build maps. You can trade maps. Right? Like there's so much you could do with that game. I feel like it's the definitive game. Then there's also things like, yeah, but what about Metroid Zero Mission and Fusion? What about Star superheroes like Astro Boy? Right? These games are like, but those are
Oh my god, yes.
right. What about Minish Cap? You can't leave Minish Cap off. So these Game Boy Advance is kind of like, oh, it's so impossible. But usually, if it was like, hey, and this is before working on that Advance Wars reboot, it was, what do you think is the best? I'm like, well, I think the best game is probably Advance Wars. Like, I think I'd have to say it's the best one. Is it my favorite? It depends on the day. Like I might be like Metroid Fusion or Zero Mission or something, or I don't know. It depends. Depends on what I'm in the mood to play. But yeah, that was, oh my gosh, what a cool thing to get to work on that. I was mostly involved just in the early pitch and creative process at the beginning, and then James just drove it as the actual hands-on director. So it was fun to get to have like some part in it, though. So yeah, it's awesome. I love Advance Wars. Thank you for also loving it. It's cool.
Like anytime I see you WayForward, guys, I'm going to gush about Advance Wars for sure. I am. Yeah,
He literally wouldn't stop talking about it for 2 years.
Yeah,
because it got delayed, right?
Yeah,
and so
that was unfortunate.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. Yeah, like I mean, I can only be but so mad. Like I put my anger at the people that deserved it. Vladimir Putin. Yeah.
Yeah, I just had to. I'm like, well, we'll just wait. I'm sure it'll come out at some point. So I'm glad it's out there. So, but yeah, man, that's an awesome game. Thank you. Yeah, it's funny. Oh, and you mentioned Duck Amuck. That's Nintendo DS, actually. Did you know that one's like all stylus? Like you actually draw on the screen for that.
Mm-hmm. So that one, because that's actually the name of one of my favorite Looney Tunes episodes that featured him and Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, that's the
Chuck Jones one. It was all about art design and drawing the storyboards.
Yeah, that was yeah. So it was totally based on that. Because when we got our DS dev kits way back, I mean, this is in eternity past, whenever that was. We just had basic hardware. It's like, what are we going to do with this? And just playing with it and playing with the stylus. I'm like, oh my gosh, we got to go pitch a Duck Amuck game. Can you imagine if you could basically do what happens in that cartoon? In that cartoon, it's Daffy Duck and he's basically getting constantly harassed by this giant pencil, right? And then at the end of the episode, it's like the artist. He's like, who are you, right? He's demanding to know who's that on the other side of the paper, and it's Bugs Bunny. In our game, it's like it's you, right? So that was awesome. That game was so much fun. Oh man, and it's still really good. I just really like it. That has that game. It was so hard to get that game approved by Nintendo, though. Because we were kind of doing like a whole bunch of mini games or scenarios, like sight gags, right? And the one I'm like, I really want to close the lid, like close the DS, and have Daffy get like basically like squashed in there and start screaming, and then you open it up and like a mini game where it's like, because you remember the gag that have in Looney Tunes cartoons where they go up and down the stairs and someone turns off the light.
Yeah,
they go back and forth. Like someone turned the light and the someone's run up and down. They recycled that gag a bunch of times. By the way, one of the things we got to do with WayForward is a few of us went to Looney Tunes school, which is where they bring out people who have been with the studio for like ever, like old animators and historians, and then they teach you all of this stuff, and why characters act and behave the way they are, and all that kind of thing.
Oh my god!
Yeah, because Daffy Duck was one of the producers there, and the animators would make fun of him by making cartoons of him and then showing them to him. So like Daffy Duck is Schlesinger, is this money like penny pinching producer, and they would show him cartoons of himself, but not tell him that they were making fun of him, I guess. And
Wow.
then and I guess he talked like that, like Daffy's voice is that guy.
Mhm.
So he would kind of do that stuff, like, oh, like what, like, I don't know, I don't want to go, I'm like, can I even do it? But it's like, what kind of stuff do you have to show me today? And he had the I don't know, the way of talking with the Daffy would. I'm not even going to attempt it. I'll slaughter it. But anywho, we have a lot of connection to Disney because of all of us going to CalArts and like Warner Brothers because of the Looney Tunes school, and a lot of our teachers were from there. I don't know, deep connections to animation, I guess is what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
Anyway, the whole thing of the Duck-a-Muck was just. Oh, sorry, I skipped the thing about the lid, right? Nintendo DS. We could see that on the tech. We could basically use the lid as a it's effectively a button. It just tells it go into sleep mode. But at that point, it wasn't quite clear how it was going to work. We're like, does it have to go into sleep mode? Nintendo gave us a pass and allowed it to be like, hey, it won't go into sleep mode. You can do that, but you have to actually check the clock on the game, and you can only do that one time per day. Is close the lid and have it not actually function as it's supposed to. So so we have a game where you close the lid, and then the shoulder buttons are still active, and you can use them and play a game in the dark, like no screen, and then open it up. But if you try to play that game again, the system will go to sleep mode until
Did you know that?
So there.
So I don't know.
I knew that you could close the lid on certain games because Zelda does that.
Yeah,
because
they do the map transfer.
Yeah, you have to do the map transfer by closing the lid. But I don't remember only doing that once a day. It must.
Trace Memory also had a thing like that, and I think it's because the first couple of Nintendo kind of I assume that was for Spirit Tracks, right? No,
I think it was Phantom Hourglass.
Phantom
Hourglass, yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's sort of things where like they know they can do it properly, but when it comes to a third party developer like us, I think it's like, well, all right, just don't break this hardware. Don't make a game where you slam the thing repeatedly or anything crazy. So they put some restrictions on it, but they did let us do it, which is pretty cool. So I don't know, a lot of weird stories like that pop up just when we talk games in general. So you feel free if you're like, man, let's change topic. It's fine because I'll just keep going.
I mean, if you keep going, I'll just keep listening because
you gotta help me. I'm like, save me from my horrible mouth. It won't stop.
All right, I'm gonna help maybe transition this. So you said you've been doing this for a long time, right? So what were there specific games that made you say, man, I want to get into game design. I want to make games.
Well, you know what? No, not really. It kind of weird, but like, all right. So I grew up on Atari, so I'm like a 70s kid. So I grew up with Atari. Kind of saw the industry go away, like when all that crashed. I grew up and also arcade games. Like I love Pac-Man. I'm like a Pac-Man guy from the 80s. Like I played all the classic stuff. When NES came back, that was kind of, I was in high school, I think, or high school. Where was I? I don't know. 83, junior high, I guess.
Junior high. Yeah.
That's
about where I was at.
Yeah. So I was at that age where these games were hugely influential. I mean, I was basically like Mega Man 2 stuck with me so long that I wrote my college thesis on it. I wrote, because video games were also not very, I don't know. They weren't accepted as real entertainment at that time. And I'm like, wrote my college thesis on people will still play Mega Man 2 10 years from its release. They're like, first, why are you writing about video games? That's a weird thing to write about. And then like second, why would anyone play a video game? Pac-Man was the biggest hit and people stopped playing that when Ms. Pac-Man came out, right? I don't know. Anywho, I love Mega Man 2. When I was in college and then in CalArts doing animations when Super Nintendo launched. So I feel like that was very influential. But games as a career for artists and animators wasn't normal. Like I was a character animator. Like game design is a thing I've learned out of more like observing games that I like, I guess. Like the more that I play games on like Super Nintendo, I'm like, okay, there's things about these games and there's things about NES games. There's kind of like lessons I feel like I was just learning and pulling out of all those Nintendo products. Like, why are the Nintendo ones, but you buy a stinker and it's like, why are some of these games bad and some of these games amazing? I feel like that's kind of how I like learned to design games. But I was in college for character animation, and everyone there was either we were actually being just trained. It's like, hey, are you going feature film? Are you going to work on Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast and whatever comes next? Or are you going to work on TV shows? Because our teachers were pitching shows like Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain and whatever. I don't know. I can try to think of what our teachers were pitching. Everyone was pitching something, and then the students were pitching stuff. Craig McCracken was pitching Powerpuff Girls. You had like everybody at school had a thing they were pitching, right? Which actually is part of the Shantae story too. Erin was like, I want to pitch something. She started pitching Shantae as a game, which was like very unusual because video games was not normal. Like you would pitch shows or movies, right? Because that was part of the training was like, hey, be an animator, but also be a storyteller and learn how to do pitches, pitch a show, make a big thing about like, who are your characters? What are they about? What's the world? All that stuff. So you're asking about games though. The thing is like right as Super Nintendo was launching was kind of at that point when we were supposed to start seeking out mentors and things like, hey, you're going to go, like I was kind of going to head to Warner Brothers most likely and work on TV. But this is kind of when things took this turn is my roommate and also fellow animator at school, Rob, the guy who him and Voldy started that early WayForward. Rob met Voldy. Voldy needed an animator for a Super Nintendo he was working on. It was a Mickey Mouse game. It was natural choice to like go to CalArts and see if anyone could do it. Rob was like, hey, he's doing animation on a computer. But he didn't have video game knowledge. Like he had animation knowledge. And since we're buddies, I'm like, oh, I know a lot about video games. Let me see. Some of this actually kind of makes sense to me why the art would be restricted in this way. So we're starting to kind of like, I guess I want to say the career path of games out of animation was kind of happening right in that moment. So it's weird. Like these are influences, but they didn't actually, how do I describe this? It's like, I think a couple of years later, it was more normal to say, I want to learn to be an animator because I want to make video games. Before then, though, you're an animator and the opportunities were like, well, a couple of people went to work on games, but that would be weird. You're supposed to be going to movies and TV. So I don't know. Specific games, though. I mean, like what we were playing, we're playing Zelda Link to the Past all the time. We were playing Super Castlevania 4. We were playing Super Ghouls and Ghosts. The Magical Quest, that Capcom Mickey Mouse game. Because we were making a Mickey Mouse game. So we're like, all right,
this game's amazing.
Yeah, we're like, this game, how are they pulling that off? And we weren't really technical guys. Voldy was, he was a programmer, but me and Rob were like animators. So we're like, what? We got to you have to make Mickey Mouse and you got to do it in like 15 colors and on this tiny little grid. How do you do that? So that game was very influential, I'd say. But I don't know, it's weird. Like none of these games, I never in my wildest imagination did I think I was going to ever make a video game. Like when I was in college and about to be done with college, I still didn't think I was going to make a video game. I actually said, while I was working on the Super Nintendo game, that was my first one, the Mickey's Ultimate Challenge game, I was just like, I'm never going to own a computer. Like, I'll be the last animator on earth to own I'm never having a computer in my house. I'm like, I will be pencil and paper guy till I die. I'm going to animate. I'm going to flip pages and I'm going to draw and flip, all of us flipped on paper using an animation disc. And when I do this, I'm sorry, this is like sheets of paper in your fingers because that's how you flip to draw. You flip, and then you draw and draw. You do this.
So
man,
cool,
I was so wrong about everything. Like, so the games that influenced me were big influences, but they weren't the things that made me do what I was doing. They were just simply the things where I'm like, oh my gosh, I have all this knowledge about games because I played them so much and I love them that once it came time to do it as a job, I'm like, oh, all the lessons are there. They're just buried. Like I just have to dredge them out of like the swamp in my brain. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So now I would probably do say, hey, if you were going to want to do games for like animation for video games, like maybe I'd probably point someone to certain games and go, ooh, look, if you're going to do 2D animation, go look at Metal Slug, go look at Darkstalkers, go look at the rough drawings of Darkstalkers, look at how crazy these sprite designs are. So I don't know. Clearly Castlevania and Metroid and Zelda, all the 16-bit and kind of early versions of those are huge influences on us, and Mega Man 2 and things that are colorful and kind of have like really bold, heavily caricatured kind of look to them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry, when you ask a simple question, man, you're getting like these crazy answers.
You started talking about animation.
It's hard to keep it apart for me. It's like all
I wanted to go to school for animation really bad, and then I ended up going for graphic design. But what made me want to go to school for animation was one of my elementary school teachers, her daughter was one of the lead animators on Lion King and Pocahontas. Her last name is Matthews. Well, it was. I don't remember. I don't know what her first. It was Miss Matthews is what I called her because I was too young to know.
You know what she did? Like what characters? They usually break it down.
She did Simba.
Oh yeah,
young Simba, and then
that's cool.
Yeah, I actually have at my parents' house. I have like a portfolio of hand drawn animation from her, from Pocahontas and Lion King. Like she gave me like the flip animation, and there's all this like rough drawings and like side profiles, and because I wanted to go to school for that, so she gave it to me when they were done. Like she made photocopies of some of it, and some of it's actually real, like the flip, because I thought that was going to be like the hardest part, was like, okay, well now I got to move on to the next frame of animation. How am I going to get it to look similar but like it's moving? So I have a lot of that, and that's why I wanted to go to school for animation.
That's so super cool. I know exactly what you're talking about. There were stacks of animation that a lot of times people at school would just kind of share around. Mm-hmm. Or people would come and just do a little evening class, and they'd bring a stack just like you're talking about of like just one scene, maybe like 24 drawings. You just throw it on the photocopy or put a clip on it and then just flip it and get a sense like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Yep. Like everybody had these great mouse detective scenes that we'd always be looking at because the animation of that was so good. And the Glenn Keane, who did Little Mermaid, he would bring in scenes, or he'd bring in scenes from Beauty and the Beast and share those with us. Mm-hmm. And awesome stuff. And Andreas Deja was the guy who did all the Disney villains. So I don't know if it's common knowledge, but
he's doing the theme park, actually, the theme park edition at Disney World. Really? He's advising on the Villains Land that they're building.
Oh, yeah, because he is like the villains animator. So he was I remember going to his work. He brought some of us in there just like, hey, kids, we'll show you around. And he was animating the hyenas for Lion King. So he was like working on those. So I'm like, oh, look, it's picture. Like, we don't know what the movie was yet, but there was the pictures of them. But it's really cool, man. The crazy talent of these people is, I don't know. I'm just lucky to have been inspired by so many people who I look up to. So I feel like that's so when you're asking like games, it's like, yeah, it's games. It's definitely, there's games that inspired all this, but man, it's these people and their work. Like that's where the real inspiration is coming from. Like you look at a game and you play it, and then you maybe play a sequel or a slightly different game or the same in a series, and you start realizing there's something about one of them that for some reason it just clicks with you and maybe a different one doesn't. And then you learn it's like, oh, that's because a person, it's like, oh, that's because, the person who did this one, it was like one person and then a different person did another one. You start realizing you're kind of a fan of a person and their work. Like I kind of enjoy discovering that over time. I've learned that a lot with character designers that I never realized. I didn't know. A good example of this is I didn't realize there were like, everybody knows Studio Ghibli now, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, Studio Ghibli, My Neighbor Totoro. I know what that is, right? But it wasn't for the longest time. I'm like, oh, there's people who worked on those shows who worked on the cartoon The Littles or Inspector Gadget. Like, is that why those were so good? Like, there's shared talent like people who worked on Totoro worked on Inspector Gadget. That's crazy.
Crazy.
Like,
Yeah, or then
no
you
wonder
like
it was so good, right?
yeah,
So
and then you notice like in the early 80s when like Disney animation started to dip a little bit, and you start noticing like American Tail and Anastasia
Sure.
and it's like, oh well, then you realize, oh well, it's clearly Don Bluth is clearly the
Don
guy
Bluth, yeah.
in the team
they're
that like,
yeah, one of the big names left and started doing his own thing.
yeah,
Yep.
great
Yep.
animations. The
Yeah.
storytelling needed to stick a little bit better, I think, in some of the stuff. I like
Definitely.
a lot of it, but
I like it. It's part of that is because he was Disney's, he was like a main effects guy. And so as they were dialing down effects on their movies, I think they were saving money and stuff. He's like, that really bothered him. So I think when he moved and did his own studio, and he did Dragon's Lair, right?
I was just about to mention that. Like that's how that name is cemented in my head. Dragon's Lair and Space Ace.
I love Dragon's Lair. Yeah, I love those games, and especially Dragon's Lair. And that's one where it's like, well, that's interesting. There's not much in the way of story necessarily. The storytelling happens just scene to scene. But effects are great. Animation is fantastic, but it doesn't worry too much about a narrative. But it kind of makes sense. I'm like, okay, yeah.
I think some of the magic of games back in the 80s like that was because like it gave you just enough for you to use your own imagination and create the story.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a lot of it's funny. This is a good loop back on Operation Galuga, the Contra game. There was a lot of narrative like on that game. One of the things that surprised me is how much lore Contra has. Like Konami has a lot of lore for Contra. I didn't know that. Like when I would play it on the NES back in the day, Contra or Super C or like the Contra 3 Alien Wars, just like you said, I just kind of inserted my own thoughts on what these characters were, what they were doing, but they've actually got like deep lore on all that stuff. So yeah, it's funny. Yeah, you'd fill in all those gaps on your own as a kid for sure. So man, yeah. So we're talking. Yeah, we're all over. We're all over. I'm.
Well, you got me talking about animation now.
I keep trying to bring it back to what you're asking me, but I keep going over into animation corners. But yeah.
I mean, I think that's cool though, that the different approach, because sometimes when we do these interviews, people have similar answers of like, oh, Super Metroid was great, or BioShock, or there's hundreds of games people could choose from, but a lot of this games are similar, and the fact that this is a different approach to the influences is really, it's a cool answer.
Yeah, because of my age and how the industry's not super old. I'm not like super old yet, I guess. I'm in my 50s. What ends up happening is I was at that call. I know a lot of people get like these are kind of your formative years, right? For my formative years, the games were pretty much just games that were concepts. Like, when you played Atari 2600 games or early generation NES before they get very artsy, they're kind of game mechanics, and or arcade games beforehand. It's like, it's usually a theme and combined with a game mechanic. Right. Okay. You mentioned Mighty Switch Force, right? That's one of mine. That's a thing I designed and directed.
I love Mighty Switch Force so much.
That's a game mechanic, and when the game was mostly, like, as far as I'm concerned, like done from we got the concept down and all works. After that, I'm like, well, theme wise, I don't know. You're going to switch between these 3D layers that's how the puzzling works. So it's got to be something that you can see. You're going to be looking at the character. So maybe the visual is on the character. Maybe it blinks. Okay, so maybe it's a siren on its hat. Well, I'm bringing full circle again. Like Inspector Gadget has a siren on his hat, right? So I'm like, well, maybe it's a police officer because Inspector Gadget's like a kind of, well, I guess he's a detective, but you get the idea. Like putting a siren on their hat, you'll see it flash. You'll know the switch is coming. The theme came out of the gameplay. It wasn't, let's make a cool space police game. It was, let's come up with a mechanical concept that utilizes 3DS because it's got stereoscopic screen, right? It's like, well, what can we do? Well, we make things move in and out. All right, well, how about you can jump on them when they're out and you can't jump on them when they're pulled in, which is, hey, you asked about the influence, and that's a thing that's straight out of Zelda Link to the Past, right? You hit the switches and the blocks pop up where the blocks sink down.
I was going to say that's a very... that approach to design seems very Nintendo-esque, right?
Yeah.
Every time I think about that type of design, I think of the Space World 128 Mario's demo, and I'm just like,
Right.
that never became a Mario game, but Pikmin exists, right?
That's there you go. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's funny. Like when we talk, it's like the influences actually start to sort of just emerge just by talking games generally, right? So, yeah. Huh.
That's so cool. So I guess to kind of shift the animation talk to Shantae, it did go from pixel art to animate, like hand drawn animation.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
what was that because of your love of animation? You wanted to do that, or was that
Yeah, for sure. So when Erin pitched that game in like '94 is when she came up with all that stuff. She created the character and a game pitch. It was not for Game Boy. It was for, well, the first pitch was for Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo was, wow, I just made up words. Super Nintendo was starting to, oh my gosh, was starting to kind of, well, I don't know. I feel like it was kind of hitting its peak, and there was also the, hey, rumors of PlayStation and other stuff coming, right? Like we're heading into a transition period. While she was pitching that, it wasn't like the pitch was just written overnight. It was over the course of many months, and then actually continued on for 6 years, if you can believe that. But during that period of time, it's like, well, it looks like its guts was Super Nintendo. That's kind of like what the spark is, but the technology is shifting, and 3D games weren't really prevalent yet. So a lot of things were starting to shift into, well, what does side-scrolling look like as it evolves to next level? You know how like on, what is it, Sega Saturn, there was a lot of, hey, next generation platformers, or you had like Abe's Odyssey or something on PS1. It's like, that's maybe what a next generation platformer looks like. Well, all right. Yeah. Or maybe it's something like Prince of Persia, or maybe it's that, that really advanced looking Pitfall side scroller that, what, Croyer Studios, the Fern Gully people, right? They were making a Pitfall game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm all over
Wait. Are we talking about the one from back in the Sega Genesis days?
The Mayan Adventure. Yes. It was like crazy animated.
I think they tried to shove it on Sega CD at one point.
Yeah. That's the one I had. That's the one I owned, the Sega CD version.
Yeah, we knew them because they were kind of like mentor people to us younger animators, like the Croyers. They're really nice people. But yeah, they were doing that. We're like, well, maybe Shantae is going to end up being like that. Maybe resolutions. I kind of assumed my picture of future consoles was going to be, they're going to go from 320 by 200 or whatever low res TVs were. I think that's right. 320 by 240? 320 by 240, I think. I'm like, oh, monitors on PCs are now, I know this is so sad, 640 by 480. Oh my gosh, so many pixels, right? And I'm like, oh, so the next consoles are going to be 640 by 480 to probably go with like some kind of fancy new TVs, right? Well, no, it all went 3D and became like Mario 64. Like things went completely. Yeah, they didn't get increased fidelity. They actually went lower fidelity into polygon, like where it's like, oh my gosh, it's back to being really crude, like old Atari games where you have to use your imagination to imagine what all these triangles is like. Oh, I guess that's Mario. Yeah, okay.
I guess that's a hill over there.
Yeah, I guess those Virtua Fighter people are kind of people. They're kind of like cardboard box people, but I get it, right?
I tell people that their memory of Final Fantasy VII before Final Fantasy VII Remake is not what they thought it was.
Like, they have cubes for hands. I love it. I love that look. I think it's actually super fun. But you gotta imagine if you were living it and you were like 8-bit NES, 16-bit Super Nintendo, 32-bit. You start seeing stuff like Symphony of the Night. You're like, oh, I know what the next thing is going to be. It's going to be that, but 640 by 480 high res. But so that's what we were pitching. So to answer your question, yeah, we started going, okay, it's going to all start being hand drawn. It's going to look like actual cartoons. That's clearly where we're going to be in 2 years. Dragon's Lair will be playable as though it was Metroid. That's where we're going to be. Turns out we weren't, and we never actually went. I would actually argue we never went there until like something like Cuphead maybe actually got us where I thought we were going to go. But we did a whole like, nope, almost like an industry reset. It's polygons. It's like Ocarina of Time to like, you know, just look at the Zelda series. You can see technology evolve, right? So yeah, Shantae. Anyway, we already thought Shantae was going to be heading that direction. So for 6 years, we did like 2D concept art that would have been like high res, I guess, sprites, but they were hand drawn. All our pitch materials were like that. But I mean, 3D just exploded, and then the expectation was all games are going to be 3D now. I don't know if you guys remember a period of time where it was really hard for Capcom to get 2D Mega Mans. Do you remember the X series?
Yeah.
Like, starting with X4, it's like the pushback that they were getting just from every possible direction of like, why is he 2D? Why is he in pixels? You know,
but wasn't that the big pushback with Symphony of the Night too? Was like,
PlayStation
wanted to show off, you know, the 3D graphics, and Castlevania was 2D, and so like that's why it was on Saturn.
Yeah, it was that is real. I mean, that is what was going on at the time. There was a huge kind of bias. I guess if it was pixels or pixel art, no matter how high res it was still the old kind of technology, so it was unwanted.
It was a hard shift for me as a gamer doing that, because like, I always back when I was a kid playing like these games way back on the Atari and of course the NES and all that stuff, I was like, we're starting to play interactive cartoons. So I got to a point where I was imagining like the stuff that we would see, like, you know, like in the movie theaters, like Beauty and the Beast, even like Dragon's Lair, for example. So like that's where gaming was going to be. And then it was a shock to my system when like the 64-bit era happened and everything was polygons. And I was like, it almost broke my brain, but it took. Yeah. I want to say like I got because I had the PS1 when it first launched. And
yeah, me too.
Even then I was looking for games that kind of like captured that whole NES, Genesis, Super NES like aesthetic and stuff like that. Like it took me a while. I want to say like I didn't really like start getting it until Resident Evil came out.
Me too. Yeah. For me, it was Resident Evil 2 made me go, okay, I'm really glad I have. I mean, I liked Symphony of the Night, of course. Actually, when I first played it, I actually had almost an allergic reaction to it. It wasn't what I expected.
Me too. Me too.
And now it's like one of my top 3 of all time games. I just love it.
As a Castlevania fan, I had the same problem.
Yeah, I was like, wait, this isn't like the NES games at all. I thought the gameplay was going to be similar, so I wasn't ready for the leveling up and the equip screens and all that stuff. Now I totally love it. But it just like you said, and actually this parallels WayForward, the studio, like, and kind of its whole journey is the ones that did go the way that I thought, and what you were just talking about. It's like, well, but Freddy Fish went that way. So like point and click adventures for little kids, like CD-ROMs all got those high res 640 by 480 hand drawn stuff. They could have looked like Dragon's Lair, but instead they were like, hey, give your kid an activity to play. But like there wasn't real time, like gamer gameplay, like wasn't there anymore. Sorry, Freddy Fish, that probably was rude to you. But what I mean is those were point and click adventures where you use your brain. It's Shadowgate for kids, right? It's like, well, you know, figure out where the pieces go, click on the stuff, and you know, you'll get there eventually. But yeah, we didn't have action games, and I was like really struggling. Kind of going back to those early polygonal game days, I was really struggling with this because the animation sensibilities and the moving towards really well like visualized characters. Like we were playing Street Fighter Alpha and Darkstalkers and things like that, and going, oh my gosh, we're in things are
beautiful.
Yeah, Metal Slug. Things are getting amazing, and I'm turning around. I'm like, okay, but the 3D games, I'm like even when I saw Ocarina of Time for the first time, I'm like, it's so boxy. Like I can barely make out his face. I know most people don't play it on original hardware anymore, so it's probably going to sound like I'm just whining. But you know, back then with the original hardware and the low res TVs, like it was pretty hard to make out that stuff. Oh, did I offend him? He left.
He'll be back.
He got so angry at what I said.
That's fine.
Should I keep going?
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah, it was jarring, and so I found that the stuff where I was really embracing 3D was hey, all right. The 3D I was finding myself more drawn towards was Doom. I'm like, I want to play Doom and Doom 2. That feels right. It's like if it's 3D, make it first person, put me in there. it'll just be me and the environment. I thought that for me just clicked. I was like, this is incredible. But that was so far from the Shantae stuff. And I guess I should bring us back to that I'm like, okay, 3D, I don't think Shantae lives in 3D. At least then. I'm like, 3D it's not a fit. Shantae needs to be in 2D, and it didn't go high res the way we thought it would. And that's why we actually ended up, WayForward had a lot of years where we were doing hand-drawn 2D for kids CD-ROMs, you know? And then when it came to like where our gameplay lives, it was Game Boy Color. That was where it landed. And that's why I think Shantae ended up finally getting realized on Game Boy Color. It's like, well, this is where we could do the stuff that we, you know, technology is almost like a step backwards, right? From Super Nintendo 16-bit, now we're going back to like an 8-bit thing. But it felt right. It felt like, yeah, we can kind of express our creativity here. So we spent the whole duration of Game Boy Color just making games on that system. Shantae was like at the beginning, and it was also at the end. It took all that time to develop that game. And then that's why I think to kind of fully answer your question, I've kind of been all around the edges of it, is once we were able to actually go, I felt like we did a lot of what we wanted to do in pixel art up until like Pirate's Curse was starting to become like, hey, this is kind of like what a Sega Saturn probably would have been like if Shantae had been on that. That'd probably be like this, like kind of limitless colors, still pixel art. That was the 3DS game. Once we got to the next consoles, yeah, I think that's why we went hand-drawn. I'm saying I think. I mean, I know that's why we did it. It was like, yeah, we can finally do the thing that we set out to do at the very beginning, like make this stuff look like actually do hand-drawn animation and just animate it just fluidly and with dynamic, exciting poses, and just really have that spontaneity that you get out of hand-drawn animation. So yeah, that's why it ended up that way. And then, I don't know, by then we just have such a love of pixels. That's why it's so easy to go back to the pixel art, because we love that too now. It's just ingrained in who we are. So
yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of it. Yeah.
When you did the first game without pixel art, did you get a lot of pushback because it was hand-drawn animation?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, the first couple of pitches, we were very quickly finding that nobody had any interest for it. And I think one of the reasons, I mean, there was a singular reason. It was Doom was going crazy. Like, if there was any reason that there was no like pre-Game Boy Color Shantae, like we're talking in the 6 years of just experimental early days, I would say Doom is the reason. And I mean, I couldn't stop playing it. I'm like, Doom is so good. This feeling of like actually being, I mean, now I guess you just call it immersion, right? But like, this is a whole different kind of game. I totally love it. I'd seen things like that before with Wolfenstein 3D, or there were other raycasting engines that had existed, but there was nothing like that, right? So they're like, this is the future. This is where it's going. Everybody knew it. Mario 64 came out. Now it's like, oh my gosh, that's what a mascot platformer can be like. Oh my gosh, it's going that way. So I think once there was this massive shift in what it means to be an awesome video game, that's, I think, why that train of thought just kind of stopped. And then we went into kind of an experimental phase for, I don't know, like 6 years, more developing characters, concepts, so that whenever we would hopefully catch up to kind of where the industry was, we'd be ready to go. But it turns out it was our love of our classic stuff that kind of helped the Game Boy Color be where we landed. And then we just sort of expressed those ideas there on like basically on a smaller canvas. So that's
that cartridge is so iconic. I can see the translucent green cartridge with the bright red background with just her, hair sitting on the front of the cartridge, and her hair is, the purple hair kind of sloped down.
Thanks, man. So I drew that cover. I remember when I saw that box for the first time, that was amazing. We'd shopped the game around. That was actually a process too. Trying to get Shantae Game Boy Color a publisher, because we made the game so big that it was the most expensive. It was the most expensive Game Boy Color cart you could possibly get. Like, you'd have to have the giant storage, like either the battery or the EEPROM drove your cost of goods way up. And then if it was on the biggest cart capacity wise, that also drove your costs up. So we're like, so it's like, well, it's a no-name brand, but it's going to have to be priced at like I don't know. It probably should have been around $40, like the way the Zelda ones were. They were always like $10 more. But it was just it was a really tough sell. I don't know why I just said all that stuff. I guess it was you were asking about the cart. Oh, the box art. Sorry, I'm drifting off here. But when Capcom finally took interest in it, we're like, oh my gosh, Capcom's going to do it. They signed it. We showed it to them at E3. I just walked in. I'm like, hey, does anyone want to see my anyone want to see this video game? Like, check it out. They're like, we don't do that here, sir. I'm like, but it's really cool. Look, and the guy, I just caught one guy's eye, and he's like, oh man. He's like, hang on. He's like, hey, other guy, you need to look at this. And I'm like, oh, good. They're like getting sucked in the animation and stuff, and they really liked it. And they're like, this kind of looks like a Capcom game. This looks like something that they would have made. And before long, yeah, after E3, they had reached out to our CEO John Beck and started making deal terms and stuff. And yeah, they picked it up to publish. And it was amazing. Like, that was the cool, because I'm a huge Capcom fan, so that was amazing. What's really weird though is after we were done and like sent the game over to them, we're like, all right, here's the game. I think I expected some kind of formal process because here's the game, here's some doodles of what the box might look like. And then they disappeared and I didn't hear anything for like a long time. Game Boy Advance launched, came out. I'm like, oh, I think maybe it was canceled. I just assumed it was never going to launch. I don't remember. It was either 8 months or a year. I don't know how long it was. I never heard back, but I figured the game was buried and gone. So that was very strange. And then just one day I walked into a EB Games at the mall, and one was flying at me because the store manager saw me coming in the mall and just threw it. So I'm like walking by EB Game. Oh my gosh. I'm like, look. And it's like, it's a Shantae box. And I'm like, oh wow. Oh my gosh. Like, it's real. And I'm also like, what is this picture? I'm like, oh my gosh. Like like, it's kind of one of these, oh, they printed the rough drawing. Like, I never heard back what they wanted on the box. I didn't know we would actually finish the drawing, But if you look closely at that, that's a pencil drawing with like Photoshop flood fills and stuff.
Yeah, I always wondered
why it looks so weird. That's why it looks like that.
I always wondered why that version of Shantae. I was like, maybe they just refined the look of Shantae after that first attempt.
There's way better drawings. There's also a really funny one, I think, in the instruction booklet. If you got the old instruction booklet, and I think the LRG recreation of it, I think, has this too. You're just flipping through and you'll just come across pictures that are just not colored. It's like, oh, it's just a pencil sketch. It's just whatever we sent over. I was going to say in a zip file, but heck, it was probably we put it on a Jazz drive and mail it in an envelope. I don't even remember how we got that game to them.
Jazz drive. Oh my God, you're taking me back.
I'm saying every old word for the funnies, but it probably was, or I don't know. We burnt CDs and
you guys gotta remember there are people out here at a certain age that they didn't even know that thing existed.
Dude,
they're like, he's making up words. I'm like, no, it was real.
He's not. It was a real thing.
No, we would. Yeah, you'd be shocked. You'd be shocked at how far technology's come in like a short time. Yeah. Oh my gosh. But what was I talking about? You'd asked me about the Shantae art. Oh, you're talking about the cartridge, just how the nostalgia of the actual thing. Yeah. Whenever I look at it, I just look at it and go, oh man, that's still that placeholder drawing though, isn't it? It's like, it always gets me. But I love it though. I mean, I love that game.
That's amazing.
It's the one where we finally, against all odds, made it happen. So I don't want to make it sound like I don't love it. Man, I love it. In a way, I love it the most because it's the tiny little project with just a couple of us working on it for like forever. So, but yeah, I don't know. It's hard to believe it finally happened, and now we're like 6 games in. It's ridiculous.
That's so cool. And like I said, I really feel like there's like obviously the AAA iconic characters, but I think when you start getting down to double and single A characters, I think there are characters that are stand above the rest, right? Like when I think of these characters, I don't even know half the characters' names. Like I know Shantae, right? And then like I think of Shovel Knight, and then I think of like the guy from Braid, right? Or
Oh, okay.
like Fez.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I usually think of like Quote, but I always forget that that's his name. Cave Story guy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Cave Story guy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, his name's
Yeah.
Quote.
Or like Hyperlight Drifter guy.
Yeah, Hyperlight Drifter guy. Yeah. These are all just I know what you mean. Yeah, amazing indie characters and games and stuff. Are you just saying like what are their names though?
No, I'm just saying, like, even when you think of the iconic kind of characters that have come out over the last maybe 15 years that have become, the I don't know, when indie games were first really becoming popular, right? Like, I think of those characters, but even then, like, I could only name a few of them. But I feel like Shantae was kind of like at the forefront of all that.
This is funny. We were talking about this because of that big indie game Twitter post that blew up yesterday. I don't know. Is it weird if I'm talking about stuff like that? It's just it was a whole indie game thing, and like who are kind of the standout indies, or I don't know what you call them. Just like what characters define the indie thing, and it's like, well, for me the term like we were the term indie game or indie character. I feel like it's kind of got its own sort of special definition that the gamers created for it. Like I at one point I remember asking like, guys, does anyone actually know what this means? And this is like years ago. I'm saying like indie, what's the deal with the indie thing? Like Nintendo's starting to put an indie category, like indie, like independent films. Like you got big studio films, you got independent films. Like okay, so what are we? And WayForward is an independently owned studio. We have we fund our stuff based on the money that we earn. Usually the Kickstarter was funded by fans, and there have been a couple of the games where there's been an outside funding source to come in and help out. But we're either doing work for hire games, or we're a developer for hire just to keep the lights on, or we'll like take a chance on an original game every so often. Before digital distribution, and you could make a game and put it out there, I always just considered it to be like I guess what I would have called indie was like struggling developer trying to release a game. It's it's like we're just trying to get our game in the store. Oh my gosh! Like I guess that makes us indies back then, but we didn't have a word for it.
Yeah, for our award show last year, we probably spent 45 minutes trying to define what the term indie meant, because we were like because technically in 2020 you could look at studios who weren't owned by major publishers or were funding their own games, and it's like, well, technically Bungie was an independent studio, and they had like 1,200 employees at the time, right? Or like I don't know, Insomniac was like kind of a mercenary studio, independent studio, right? Where they were like making games for other studios. Like
is Crash Bandicoot an indie character because it came from an indie studio? That would be weird, right? It's weird when I say it.
Yeah.
And I'm saying it on purpose because it's a weird example. But it's like, well, I don't think of that. I think of that as a major. I think of that as a Sony mascot, even though I know these days not so much. But back in the Mario, Sonic, Crash, that's kind of how I would have looked at it. So yeah, it's tough, and especially when you go like some of them are. It's like, well, okay, but is it like a one-person developer? Like maybe it's an auteur. Like how do you define it? It's like the Toho project with Zune. It's like that's all one person, right? And it's over the course of 20. How many years? Way more than 20 years, right? How many Toho games? There's a 20 main ones, and I don't know. There's a lot of them. So yeah, I don't know. Did you guys come up with rules? Did you figure it out? Because I'll just say I don't know. I have no idea how to categorize. We kind of
came up with like small developer who wasn't funded by a publisher, essentially, or wasn't being invested in. It all came up because what was that game? Dave the Diver was up for best indie game, and they were funded by some who was
by Nexon.
Which is
sure.
And it's like, well,
yeah, it's true. It's like, well, and is it the size of the dev team? Like this new one, I know we're probably talking about Shantae Advance at some point, but that one, most of the development for that game back in 2004, and then when we finished it last year, was me and Mike Strage, like the guy who programmed Booger Man. He's the guy who made all of our Game Boy Advance tech back in the day, and he's been just like this awesome guy I've been able to work with on and off for most of my career. But yeah, most of Shantae Advance was me and him. But funding came from Limited Run because they're like, hey, could you finish your game? Well, or more the other way around. It's like we wanted to finish the game, looking for people to help out. So, yeah, I could get into that. I mean, I don't know how we're.
Yeah. I mean, if you're allowed to say what
Oh,
obviously certain publishers out there kind of give you the side eye if you say something,
right. No. This one's an interesting. It's a good story. So the one and I guess just the quick plug, I guess, is the one that's currently up for where you can order it. It's, I think, still up there. What day is it? A couple more days. It's going to be up and available to get versions of. It's Shantae Advance Risky Revolution. That's the newest Shantae game. And we just launched the digital version just a couple of weeks ago. And some months back, there was a physical Game Boy Advance cartridge version of it. So the weirdness of this game is after we released the Shantae original game on Game Boy Color in 2002, that's when it came out. I mean, we'd worked on it for years before that. But once it finally actually launched in 2002, we had already had our Game Boy Advance dev kits. We got those in like 2000, end of 2000. So we'd already been working on building engine and tech, and it was all based on what we thought we would do. We assumed that Shantae was going to be, it got us a lot of positive attention with publishers. We figured, we'll do a Shantae Advance, like that'll work, right? We didn't know that Shantae Game Boy Color was going to launch so late and basically people weren't going to buy it. but we had high hopes, right? So we're working on Shantae Advance, like, we're making a sequel. We're on top of this. We got like halfway through development, and by that time, Game Boy Advance was in its heyday. It was starting to get like, very popular. Game Boy Color had kind of gone away. Our Shantae Game Boy Color game finally launched, like, after Game Boy Advance had already been out for like better part of a year, maybe a year. Sales weren't great. And so we got this new game that we're pitching around. We're like, hey, here it is, Shantae Advance. It's the sequel. It's using all our cool new advanced tech. And they're like, well, how did the first one sell? We're like, oh, not great. They're like, well, wait, so this new one is going to be even bigger and more expensive? It's like, yeah, you want in on that deal? They're like, no.
No.
Like, oh, okay. And we tried lots of different strategies and approaches and kept working on the game. But there was a point in time where we had exhausted all of the publishers. Like, there was no hope for this game ever coming out. And so we canceled it internally. Like, we canceled it. We're like, we can't continue on Shantae Advance as much as we want to. We can't do it. We got to survive. We started like really leaning into like the SpongeBob and Barbie games and things like that on Game Boy Advance. The X-Men game you mentioned earlier, Sigma Star Saga was the one that was the last original game that we made. That Bandai, Namco Bandai, at that time it was just Namco, I think, funded that one. But yeah, Shantae Advance went away, disappeared, gone. So there was, then we moved on to other Shantae games and eventually got to, the modern day when we're like, okay, Shantae's now, people know what it is. There's 5 games out there. They're generally well received. There's a fan base who funded the Half-Genie Hero for Kickstarter. Like, it's okay now. It's kind of established, right? I know that's like a huge leap, but it's 20 years later. So at that time, Aaron and I are talking like there was no current Shantae game in development. And she was asking me hey, what do you want to do? Like, if you could just do anything at all, what would you want to do? And it was kind of like one of those big, like, if you won the lottery, what would you do? I'm like, you know what? I want to bring Shantae Advance back. I regret that being canceled. I wish it could come back. If I was just like, won the lottery, what you do anything what you want with your life. I'm like, I'd probably try to get that game funded and completed, because I really regret that there's a half-finished game that only me and a couple other people have ever played. That kind of was a huge bummer. And a lot of people worked on it, and they worked really hard. They made like really cool animations and good levels. And I just felt like it was a quality piece of Shantae history, and it was just lost and buried. Turns out that right around the same time, we were at PAX, I think, and we were talking to Josh at Limited Run and explaining this, and he's like, well, we do make, like, we can do retro carts now. We can manufacture those. I'm like, would you be interested? Like, do you think there's a market for this? What if we finish the game? And it kind of was left hanging there. And right around the same time, Michael Strege, the guy who programmed it, he'd been off working in completely different, I think he was doing animatronics, like theme park stuff. He hadn't been doing games for, I'm not sure how long, but I hadn't worked with him for, I don't know, the better part of like almost 20 years. It's been a long time. And he had just reached out randomly, and he's like, hey, I was cleaning up hard drives and going through old backup drives, and I found the Shantae game. He's like, wouldn't it be cool to finish that game someday? I'm like, yeah, like what if it was now? He's like, well, if you're serious, I'm actually maybe going to have some time off. I could, like, if I don't take the next gig, I could have time. I'm like, wait, so like really maybe for real? And that's when I'm like, hey, so I actually started talking to Aaron, and I were talking to Adam Tierney, like he also had on the show recently, because he does our biz dev stuff. And I used to do, by the way, publishing for WayForward back when we did the Mighty Switch Force and Flip Champs and all that stuff. Adam does it now. And I'm like, Josh at LRG seemed receptive to this. They can manufacture carts. Mike Strege seems like he'd be willing to walk away from his job and maybe spend a year finishing this game. Like, is this real? Like, do you think this would really happen? And yeah, everyone just came together and was like, the technology's there. They can make these carts. Limited Run could fund it. And the info's out there. Josh Fairhurst had like posted it out in the real world at some point that, yeah, they actually did fund it. Which is why it exists. So if anyone's like, why Limited Run? It's like, guys, they are the one, all the industry would not take a gamble on funding this game. Limited Run did. So I feel like that carries a lot of weight, they put their money into it. Every other publisher that existed in the Game Boy Advance era, we knocked on every door. There was not a single, no one would do it. Josh did it. So I feel like that's like credit where it's due. So anyway, they funded it. Mike started work. We dug up all the old game code. We're like, how are we even going to do this on modern computers? We're like going into DOS. We're like, oh my gosh, some of these files are actually pre-Windows era. Because we didn't have money back. Well, we didn't have any money back when we were working on the game in 2003. It was all on a shoestring budget. So if there was a DOS version of a tool, we were going to use that instead of a Windows one. Like you can't. Not everyone can afford Windows, right? So and some of it was just also I liked the old tools, to be honest. So we started rebuilding. This is 2023 now. Finishing that game in the original code base, me and Mike again. Aaron helped out with the illustrations. She's got a team that works on the comics and stuff. They were helping out. Maddie Lim did composed music. We never had music for the game before. And then weirdly enough, our kids now are both professional animators. They're adults. So our son had learned to sprite stuff. I'm like, dude, you weren't born when I canceled this game, or maybe it was the same year he was born. Now he's like a grown man, and I'm like, will you animate on this game? So he's doing sprites on it. It's like, wow, made a person in the meantime. How about that?
Yeah, your kid's working on your passion project. That's amazing.
Well, the game was canceled and in mothballs. We made an adult man. So we actually finished the game. Did it on the reproduction cart. People got it several months ago, and then the collector's versions were shipped in the summer, which was like not actually that long. We're kind of still in summer. Just like a month ago, people were getting those, and then now we've got the full blown with HD elements. It's still pixel game, but HD elements for like a character talking portraits, like talking heads type stuff, and cutscenes and illustrations and things are all like high fidelity. And that's our new like modern console version, and that's the one that you can go pre-order now. So it's crazy. I mean, so now it's game number 6 in order of release, but it's game number 2 in the order in which we technically made and designed them. So call it what you will. I mean, canonically, it's the second adventure that the characters go on. But so you can go get it. You can see this missing piece of Shantae history, and it's finally done. I'm getting like tremendous amounts of closure talking to you guys, so thank you.
It's
I'm like,
amazing.
I can
Yeah.
actually
Oh
feel
yeah.
the weight lifting off. It's like talking about how all this started and make me go on the journey, and then get to the point where it's like, oh, we actually did it. We got it done. That's kind of remarkable. It's like actually happened. Yeah. So
That's such a
I don't
cool
know.
feeling.
It's real, I guess.
Yeah, like I'm on the game page now for it and everything, and it just looks amazing. I just in my ear, I was listening to your little like I'm not sure, like overview or synopsis of it. Man, it's incredible.
Thanks a lot.
I love watching the trailer and watching like, oh man, I loved Game Boy Advance so much, and seeing like that graphic style with like the modern animation, because I really like the hand drawn animated games, right? Like I love that art style. I love the way it's animated and it flows and it looks and everything. But like, there's something about Game Boy Advance that is really special to me, at least. But then seeing the modern stuff on top of the Game Boy Advance stuff is like, it's so cool. And when I missed out on the Game Boy Advance cart.
Oh, sure.
But I did pre-order the Switch version, the physical version. But I had also bought the digital version so I could play it now, because I wasn't gonna wait. And so, like I was telling you before we started recording, I'm gonna play it this weekend. But I was watching the trailers as I was talking to Chris through email about it, and I was like, man, I gotta play this game. This looks amazing. I love watching like even the animation of like her using her hair as the whip is like so clean and so cool looking, and
yeah, no, I love the belly dancing.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, I what's crazy is like, man, most of the characters, the most of the main cast of like Shantae and all of her moves, that stuff was done in 2002, 2003. So we didn't change any of that. That was all done. So even that was done. New sprites. Some of the NPCs that you talk to are new. We never actually had a Roddy Tops, if you can believe it. So my son did the new Roddy Tops for this game, because she was just I think she was just like, we had a version of her, but it was the Game Boy Color Roddy Tops was just being used as a placeholder. Mm-hmm. We didn't have a new one. But like, I think the sky animations mostly, I did new ones, like the ones where they're there's an opening where they're all like working on this invention and they're like hammering and using a wrench and all that stuff. That was new. I got to animate some new stuff. I don't get a lot of time to animate anymore these days, but Shantae Advance was nice because I did, it was Mike programming. If it wasn't me or Andrew Botto, the Mystic Bell developer, he came in and helped with some of the bigger, more complex sprites like the bosses. He did a great job, but yeah, I actually got to go hands on and like start doing sprites and animating them and stuff I hadn't been doing for years. So I loved it. So it's nice to hear you say that, because it's super authentic. Like, it is. The reason it feels that way is it's not an homage game. It is a Game Boy Advance game, like for real. Mm-hmm. It has all the like, we didn't get to use modern tools. Were of no value to this development. We had to stick to you still only get 15 colors for your sprite. You're limited to the 16 rows of 15 colors each. You get your 4 layers of parallax. You get your limit of how many sprites on per scan line that you can display. Like, you can only do so much. It's it forces you to organize your ideas and your gameplay in a way that other platforms don't. I think that's part of what makes Game Boy Advance feel so unique. It also, it's got I had to be reminded of this. I forgot until Maddie, the composer, reminded me. It's like that Game Boy Advance had Game Boy synthesis, so it played Game Boy audio, mm-hmm. kind of for like cheaper, mm-hmm. and then you could do Game Boy Advance audio, which was more like samples, and mm-hmm. that's why you get that very specific sound that only Game Boy Advance has, where you've got like Game Boy sound channels mixed with samples. It's weird. I don't know if you guys remember the Castlevania. What's the second one? So it's Aria of Sorrow is the third. Circle of the Moon's the first one. Harmony of Dissonance.
Corey, you got this one.
Oh man, dude, when you start talking about the Game Boy Advance and DS ones, they all kind of blur together because they all came out within like 18 months of each other.
It's not Dawn of Sorrow. it's got to be Harmony of Dissonance. Whatever the second one was, that was the one that had like a lot of, they were pushing their processor so hard, they leaned super heavily into Game Boy synthesis for their music. And so that's why that game kind of went, historically has like what people thought was bad music. And if you go back and listen to it now, you might think, oh, it's actually kind of this awesome music, because people now love chiptune music. And back then it was like old sounding. So I don't know. It's weird stuff. See, I go off on tangents. That's what happens. Anyway, we made a new old Shantae game in 2025 for Game Boy Advance.
Well,
So,
definitely pat yourselves on the back, because right now on Steam it's sitting at an 81% very positive review. So
that's
like,
good.
pat yourself on the back.
Ooh, all right. I'll do it. I'll go look, because honestly, boy, with all the excitement with the launch, I've looked at I haven't looked a lot at comments. I should probably go look at Steam. I've been looking at a lot of people doing playthroughs. Like if I can find, this is my moment to learn. So when a game comes out, I love watching people doing playthroughs, or if they're on Twitch or YouTube or wherever they're playing it, I will just like a sponge. Like I need to absorb it. I need to find out everything that the design is doing well and where it's failing and what people are saying. And I actually find when people are complaining or just venting into the internet ether, it can be valuable. Like I learn a lot from stuff like that. So I kind of like this moment in time. It's like, okay, the game's new for everybody. I can learn stuff. It can be painful, but I'm like, I don't know, it makes me a better game designer. So
yeah, but also like, look how much you've learned since, you kind of put this on the shelf and then come back to it too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we did make changes to make it more playable, more friendly. I mean, heck, the first Shantae game has lives. It's a Metroidvania game where you have 3 lives. Like if it doesn't even, like, anybody listening right now would just be like, why would you do that? It's like, well, because I didn't know any better.
Games have
Metroidvanias
lives.
were new. Metroid was around, but it was a password system game. That's what I was, that's what I was playing before. Like, oh, well, we're not going to do a password. I guess we'll do lives. Oh my gosh, what a ridiculous thing. Anyway, yeah, it's been a crazy journey. Those last couple of years were awesome though, but it's I guess I just consider myself really lucky, because the having fan support is huge, because that's how publishers see that there's a demand for the games. That's why there's, that's how if they're making some money, if they take a chance on our game and then it's paying off for them, it really does help. It makes them go, oh, we could do this again. And it's a sound business. It's a sound business proposal, unlike the earlier games where it was just pushing and pushing and pushing and having to fail a lot. It's a lot easier when there's now there's a fan base. It really is the thing that makes this so much better. So there's great fans, and because they exist, we get to keep making the games. So, yeah. What, I don't know. Are there other things you want to talk about? I feel like I went on for so long on so many topics.
I mean, this is great. This is great.
I think the game is even more impressive, because I didn't know you were building on the original code. I thought you were just like, you had the designs and stuff. Like I knew you guys shelved it, but I thought like you just had like the design stuff kind of, I don't know, in a box somewhere and pulled it out and you're like, what if we just did this but like modern?
No, there's nothing modern. It's like literally Game Boy Advance. So there were, oh my gosh. And also the memories that come flooding back when you're trying to figure out why certain stuff doesn't work is ridiculous. Just like, oh, I forgot. Like if two tiles are too similar and you try to stamp them down, you'll erase parts of the world, because the game like Game Boy Advance tech knows if a tile is mirrored or if it's flipped on the Y. Like NES couldn't do this, but Game Boy Advance could. Or is it Super Nintendo could? And so I'm getting a little mushy. Doesn't matter. One of them can optimize on X and Y. I think Game Boy Advance could also do it on flips. But if it sees tiles that are the same to its eye, it goes, oh, well, you don't need the others. They're duplicates. I'm like, my art's disappearing. Where did it go? Like my art vanished. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I got to go and start putting dummy pixels into certain tiles just to get them to show up. it's just weird stuff you forget about. Like it's weird. I know games aren't made this way anymore. You pixel some colors and they're just expected to be the colors you pixeled on the screen, but that's not how old technology works. That's like everything is basically it's a series of coordinates with RGB values or color values that are stacked next to each other. They're not bitmap pictures in the way that you think of it in terms of modern day indie development. It's like you're making a game with using a light bright. It's super different. So
Oh boy,
very archaic tools.
As someone who has a 4 and a 7-year-old who got a light bright recently, I understand the concept. I'm not sure.
Yes.
I'm not smart enough to be a real game designer, but
limitations are, but they also make the game, don't they? Like the limitations are what forces you to do things in a certain way. So yeah, it's great. I mean, I loved it. And when I say, it's funny when I talk about the tools being archaic, they're also perfect. Like these are the tools that we made for ourselves. Like we weren't buying these tools. Like Michael Strage wrote them. Mm-hmm. So it's like, well, what kind of game do you think you're going to make at the beginning of Game Boy Advance? It's like, well, let's think, what kind of business are we likely to get? What types of games will we make for the next several years? He would write a tool based on those hunches, and that's the tool that we ended up with. So that was the tool we got to go back to in 2023 to finish this game. So it is kind of like, hey, I remember having custom tools made for just us. That's pretty awesome. So yeah, it's all legitimate. It is an actual, I don't know how many legitimate Game Boy Advance games there could be out in the world that could still see release, but this is one of them. I mean, it's an actual Game Boy Advance game that just never could ship, but now it did. So,
I love when companies do that, because there are a couple developers that did that for Dreamcast like a couple years ago. There was, well, we developed a Dreamcast game. We're just going to put it out and hope people buy it.
Yeah, I love stuff like that. I actually like seeing. It's really fun to see what it's like. Okay, well, what could a modern developer do using all of their knowledge, having kind of history at their back, like to inform their decisions? Then they're going to be probably very savvy and have modern tools also. Like, what could you possibly do? Like, what could you possibly, what's the unseen potential of that old hardware? I think that's really cool. This is so different because it's, the potential was locked in 20 years ago and you're stuck. It's like, hey, half of it was cast in cement and you can't undo it. It is the way that it is. So build around it and finish it and make sure that it will appeal to a modern audience, or you could say appeal to the people who tried to buy it 20 years or thought they were going to buy it 20 years ago and we announced it and showed it off. And now they're 20 years later in life. What's their sensibilities going to be like now? Are they even going to care anymore? Or are they going to wish that it was something different? Or are they going to, like, I don't know. It's weird. It's like it is like a weird time warp experiment. I don't think we're going to see something quite like this again for a while or ever. I don't know. It's strange. So yeah,
it's weird. I mean, it's the only other thing I can kind of think of. It's not nearly the same thing, but like Atari is re-releasing 7800 carts right now of their old games, and I'm like, man.
I mean, those are the best ones to re-release. Though
I know they re-released they're
freaking arcade perfect in my opinion back then.
They just released their they're advertising it as a 2600, but I think it's obviously some sort of emulator that plays 7800 games. But like,
oh my god,
that's like the closest thing.
Talking about like that recent one, because I did order the new Atari 2600, I guess with air quotes, Pac-Man, and Galaga. Those they had them at San Diego Comic-Con, and I did play them and talk to the team there about it a little bit. It is kind of similar. It's somehow they eked, it's not like a trick where they stuck a Raspberry Pi inside a cartridge or something. They actually did find a way to program it. Yeah, I think they might be leaning into the more memory that new 2600, because it can support. It can support Atari 7800, right? 2600, 7800. I think they're doing something to somehow they're making that thing do things that should be near impossible. It's similar, reminds me a bit of what LRG just did with that new Doom, which is also like incredible. If you've seen that, if you've seen the old, if you're like, I've seen Doom, what? So wait, so it's just like, sure, it looks like Doom, whatever. But if you looked at the Super Nintendo Doom, what it used to look like, and then you look at this new one, it's also on a Super Nintendo. It's kind of insane. So I have a lot of respect for these kinds of projects. It's fun to have actually got to do one of them. So, but yeah, I love that stuff too. I mean, I feel like that's a thing that it's very unique to gamers and gaming culture to find things and appreciate. I don't know. What's it like? I mean, I'm trying to think what you'd even compare it to. I guess it's like if you went to a theater and you watched a black and white movie and you were really excited that it wasn't in color. You're like, oh my gosh, they're making a new black and white movie.
This one's got sound.
Yeah, maybe with someone playing a live piano on the side.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah. Oh. Anyway, that's kind of what we did. So,
I think it's really cool.
Amazing. Yeah.
I'm excited to play it. I'm really excited to play it. My final question. It's not really a. I asked James and Adam this question, and it just really feels like sometimes WayForward can you ask them. So I'll just ask you, and I'm going to see if you get the same reaction.
Okay.
If you had a dream IP to work with and make a game for, what would it be?
Okay, so what would I do? So I could just pick from like anything.
Yeah.
Man, it's really tough. That's a tough one. I've had this a couple of times throughout the years, and my opinion changes. But usually, I come back to wanting to make a Mega Man. It's like I'd love to make a Mega Man. That would be really cool. Like, I mean, like a classic 8 Robot Masters Mega Man. Now that's a video game brand, so I'm assuming it's like that's okay, right? It's within the rules to pick a game brand, not like a like
I've heard
I'd be totally amped for it.
Yeah.
Okay, so not like a Little House on the Prairie video game.
I mean, if you wanted to make that too, I mean,
it would be a kart racer.
Corey would play it.
Okay.
I mean, look, I wouldn't say no.
Okay.
I'd glance at it. Corey would definitely play it.
I'd probably do a Mega Man. But there's other ones that I love. Like, for example, I really like the NES Guardian Legend. I just think that's the coolest game.
Yeah.
Because that was one, man, if you go back and look at that and you look at like what it was doing, it's like, man, it's cool. It's a cool girl, transforming girl character, turns into a spaceship, and it's like top view Zelda, and then it's shoot 'em up stages, alternating. It's so weird and cool, but it's just so hard to play. But I find it to be so charming. There's something I love about it. But you know, as far as like, well, but is it really a brand or is that just an idea? I don't know. But I really like it. Our Sigma Star Saga game is actually a little bit close to that in some regards, but I don't know. Yeah, but really, I'd love to make a Mega Man. I always used to say I'd love to make a Metroid game. I'm not so sure that what I would make would be like necessarily what the world wants, honestly, anymore. I'm a Super Metroid. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I was about to say what you guys have done with Advance Wars 1 and 2. Like I would definitely kickstart your Metroid, your Super Metroid.
Oh man, because I love Super Metroid. Super Metroid. It's funny. Link to the Past, Super Metroid, and Symphony of the Night are like my favorite games. Mega Man 2 and like the original Super Mario Brothers are like way up there. Like sometimes fighting for the 1, 2, and 3 spots too, depending on what I had for lunch, right? But like, but oh my gosh, like I don't know, like Super Metroid. It seems like now we've had a little bit of side-scrolling Metroid recently, but that whole thing of like in that game that was like such a perfect blend of technology and and moment in time, and just like the expression of game ideas, where that and Link to the Past is like every tile could be a secret, every tile. And like you think in terms of tiles, you think in terms of moving around. Like, I'll bomb this tile, I'll bomb this tile, I'll bomb this tile. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get a real sense of like it's not just organic free open space. It's like, you know, where even if you don't see it, your brain knows where the grid is, and you know that a secret could be here, 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 here. You know, like you can figure it out. And all the tools that they put in your character's arsenal are all designed around being able to pick at those little bits and figure it out. Like Link to the Past giving you the shovels, you could dig, you could pick up the plant, you could scoop the grass out from under the plant, or you could have put a bomb there and possibly blown a hole in the ground. There could be a hole under there. There could be, like, every tile could be a thing, just depending on what bit they set in their level design map. It's like, there could be an entire dungeon down there. I don't know. So anyway, long story short, I really like that. I really like Metroid. I love Super Metroid, but yeah, maybe Mega Man though. Probably take the spot above it, I think, if I could. What'd the other guys say? Can I guess?
No, well, they were kind of coy because it felt like they had, like, WayForward has games in development that has to do with things that they wanted to work on.
They have. There's oftentimes, like, since we are pretty vocal about the things that we would really love to work on, you can imagine we're constantly pitching things to anyone who will listen, who's like, if there is an IP or a thing that we love, we're usually throwing our hat in the ring all the time. So, but yeah, I know which games are those guys' favorite games, so I would imagine they'd probably have said something close to that. But yeah, they might have said some other ones. But yeah, we do a lot of game pitches.
Yeah.
So we're always just like, man, one of these days, because it's DuckTales, right? Keep pitching it. 10 years later, finally one of them stuck. It just took a long, long time.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually, you said Mega Man. I have heard more than once Mega Man and WayForward in the same sentence.
Okay. I make up sentences that have both of them in it all the time. Yeah.
If it helps, none of it was from you.
Okay.
But yeah, I could imagine like the hand drawn, almost Mighty Switch Force-esque, and like art style with Mega Man.
Yeah.
Is kind of how I would imagine WayForward would do it.
I would love to see. I just need. I need personally. Like, I need to play another traditional Mega Man. I'd really love the spin-off games. And I am one of those people who, like, I love X. I think it's great. I go back and play it constantly. But I am also one of those people who really liked Mega Man Powered Up. I know that wasn't for everybody, but man, I loved it.
That was the
PSP
remake,
one,
right?
Yeah, the PSP one.
Yep, I really liked it. They could have.
The best thing about Mega Man Powered Up was the fact that they actually created 2 extra bosses to make it 8 boss robots.
Yeah, it's so good. It's nice and polished. You can play as Roll. You got all the level design tools in it. It's just so much fun. Yeah, I don't know where that game is right now. I guess if you don't own a PSP, you're out of luck. I'm surprised these games aren't available on some collection or something. But
yeah, I'm surprised it wasn't on the Legacy collection.
Yeah, Maverick Hunter X isn't either. Maverick Hunter X was the PSP remake, right? Mm-hmm. Got to get a PSP collection. Get us that Ultimate Ghouls and Ghosts, I think it was.
Oh yeah.
Get all those games on there. Yeah.
Talking my language.
Yeah. So I don't know. I would do that. I would probably do Mega Man. I would also be pretty cool with getting a shot at Demon's Crest or Gargoyle's Quest. The Ghosts and Goblins where you play as the gargoyle.
Yeah, the Red Devil.
Yes, I love those games. They're so much fun. They're really cool. So there's a bunch of answers. I could go on.
That was the era where the sequel came to Game Boy all the time.
Yeah.
Like Metroid 2, Gargoyle's Quest 2. I mean, the sequel. Game Boy was a sequel machine.
Yeah.
In terms of marketing.
Yeah, for sure. Gonna go play some Mega Man 5 on Game Boy. Right? That's the one that was the original one. It wasn't just using parts. It was like a new game. Yeah.
Oh man.
So good.
What a weird time.
Yep.
Well, Matt, I think LeRon and I would keep you here all night if we could, but
yeah,
we would.
I would enjoy it, but we should probably stop because it's
it's
just going and going for a bit, huh?
Yeah. But before we go, tell people where they can go get Shantae Advance Risky Revolution.
Okay. Yeah, so you can get if you want the physical version, there's two versions of the game that are currently available for console. There's the standard and there's a deluxe. The deluxe has 3 costumes in it that affect the gameplay slightly. Mostly they just look cool, but they affect the way the character looks, and all the talking portraits and stuff are all remade, so you can just play in these 3 different costumes. They're all super cool. But whichever version of that you get, they're available digitally for Steam, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. You can get it on Switch 1 or 2. That's the standard, or the deluxe one with the costumes. If you get the physical one, which is through Limited Run, it's at Limited Run Games website right now. That one's all versions of that include the deluxe version. So it's not like a code; it's actually like part of the game cart. So yes, you don't have to choose between like a standard or a deluxe. In that case, you're just going to get the deluxe one. And of those, there's a few different versions you can get. There's like just get the game, or there's a version that has some a bunch of merch with it. And then there's this crazy like legendary one that's got all kinds of stuff and a Squid Baron plushie, and just they pulled out all the stops and went nuts. Then additionally, if you wanted to just piecemeal buy stuff, there's actually some Shantae merch up there too. There's like a Risky Boots plushie and like a book to put your trading cards in. Because the Shantae cards come in with one of the box sets. So anyway, if you want to go nuts, you can totally go nuts. If you just want a copy of the game, there's a way to get that too. If you're like, I don't want physical anything, you can just go get the game digitally on any of the main like the eShop or any of those spots. So but limitedrungames.com is where you can get it just for, I think, the next day or two. It's about to run its course as far as how long it's been up for pre-order. And I think that's it. Yeah, pretty sure. Yeah, that's it. So got the physical game, got the digital version, and the merch. Those are all available right now.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, and all the links to those versions will be in the show notes of the episode, so you can go in there and just click it and buy it. I'm an enabler. What can we say? We're enabling people to buy games.
Thank you. We appreciate that. You guys, I really, I know I always say it, but like when fans support the game, it really does enable us to make another one. That's very important, because if they don't, I'm pretty sure we'll be like, people didn't show up for that one. Let's put it back to bed for another 6 years. So I don't know. So far so good though. This is going well. So thank you everybody for supporting the game.
Yeah, it's like I said, I think Shantae is an important character in the we'll say small game space, not necessarily indie game. I don't know, indie again. We're coming back to that.
Call it whatever you want. There's a lot of good answers there for.
I think Shantae is a game that deserves to be around for much longer than it has been. So go buy it. And Matt, like I told Adam and James and Tom, WayForward has treated us and our audience very well as well, and the company has found a fan for life in me. Thanks a lot, guys. I think you are probably the best company that we work with, hands down, in a lot of ways. So thank you again for being a great company to work with. It's great. So and everybody out there, thank you so much for watching and or listening. You can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Boss Rush Network. For as little as $1, you get early access and extra stuff, and you can hear me and LeRon talk about angry people on our pre-show that you can go listen to right now. And also coming up after this, Pat and Taylor had a 1-hour sit down with voice actor Ben Starr that you can check out on Wednesday as of this posting. So thank you guys so much. LeRon, thank you for your time. Matt, thank you for your time. It's
Cool.
been a pleasure. I love
This was
talking
great.
about this stuff.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Matt, wonderful meeting you.
Yeah, you too.
This was great. Everybody out there, thank you so much for watching and or listening. And until next time, we love you. Goodbye. If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. The Patreon producers for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Sana Dirrig, Francisco Santillan, Matthew Keel, and Christian S. Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network.